centered, standing beyond the edge of time, painting vibrations of watercolored maths. We are everything at once. We are everything as one. Breathing everlasting life. Breathing everlasting light. Don't let it go back to the start. Don't let it go back to the stars. Don't hold back on the universe inside your heart. It's the Lyrical Wax. The Lyrical Wax. Those were the lyrics of John Rosvarnis, singer of the Melbourne-based duo, The Safety Word. My name's PurpleZain. I'm a musician, I'm a producer, and at this point of time, I am a podcast host because I've done a few of these episodes now. So, the Lyrical Wax Podcast, a podcast where I interview singer-songwriters about their lyrics, really diving into the specifics of what they mean to them as a person, what was going on for them when they wrote the songs. And I also incorporate a little bit of my day job, my money-making job, what is a registered psychologist. I incorporate psychological principles and themes, where appropriate, into the analysis of the lyrics. This podcast with John is super, super interesting because John actually knows a little bit about counselling. He's done a little bit himself. So we go right through the history of some psychology, such as the early days of Jungian archetypes to post-World War II Carl Rogers to the modern-day mindfulness experience. And then we also dive into quantum physics, astro travel, spiritual entities such as acrons and ghosts and even aliens. Every base is covered. It was a super, super interview when I did this. So please get comfortable and tune on in to the Lyrical Wax Podcast, Safety Word Edition. Let's go. All right. Hello, John from The Safety Word. How are you? Good to see you this evening.
I'm good, thank you, Zane. How are you?
Yeah. Having a nice evening. Always look forward to doing this podcast and saying hello to the different guests I get on board. Yes, John Rosvarnis from The Safety Word. Really good to have you on board. People who know me and maybe listen to this who sort of familiar with me know that I'm a bit of a headbanger and a bit of a hard rocker, but I really, really love the synth music and I really love the synth wave and I really love the Safety Word sound and the ambient. I love the synths of Simon, the synth player, but I also love your ethereal vocals that you throw over the top. I think totally suits the music. So even though I've been a big fan of that side of your music, I'm really looking forward to getting into the lyrical content of your songs. So there we go. Nice little bit of props for you right from the start. How's that?
Excellent. Thank you for having me. I look forward to it as well. I used to be a rocker before The Safety Word. So I think that still that element has come through in more guitar, I think. Sometimes I rock out on the guitar, but it is very ethereal, should I say.
Yeah, because you do actually play a bit of guitar, don't you? Even though it's very, like, the sound's very synth heavy. What percentage of your songs would you say, you're actually recording guitar on?
Well, I think the last few, I'd say probably 50%. 50% might have guitar, and most of the time you don't know it, but even on the recordings I try and make the guitar sound. I don't try and play the guitar like a guitar. I try and create sounds and play very unconventionally. So it sort of sounds like it's a synth, but it's actually a guitar in the mix there if you listen properly, and it's just heavily affected.
Yeah. That I think that is a good thing too. Like I said, we are both rockers, but once you get into that synth world, you can be a bit like when you're a rocker guitarist, you just want that perfect rock tone. You just want that Led Zeppelin tone or whatever band you aspire to. But with synth, you're allowed to have a bit more fun. Even if you're playing guitar, you can have a bit more fun with it and branch out and enjoy all the effects and all that sort of stuff. So yes, there we go. It's good to have a bit of a chat about that right from the
Yeah,
start.
exactly. No, exactly. I found I used to be very hung up on what sort of amp and stuff like that, and then I sort of just got into the habit of just going with whatever sounds I get, and I'm not too fixated if it ever sounds the same live, and as long as it's has its own vibe to it, it comes across that way. That's the main thing.
Yeah, okay. All right, John. Well, when we do these Lyrical Wax podcasts, most people by now, I've done a few, so most people know they're about analysing people's lyrics and so on. But a big part of it's actually having a bit of a chat with a person at the beginning to get a little bit of their history, a little bit of their background, a little bit of their musical history, but a bit about themselves, because it helps put things into context for the lyrics. And, sometimes it often loops back about a bit about their upbringing and so on. To their lyrics. It's a little bit of a psychological thing, but it's also just in general quite interesting. So you're down in Melbourne right now, but maybe just tell us a little bit about your early years as a kid growing up, mum, dad, and like siblings, maybe sort of where you grew up, and a little, you don't have to say the exact street name or anything, but yeah, a little bit about what it was like for you growing up and whereabouts it was and your family. If you give us a bit about that, it'd be nice.
Yes. So I grew up all over Melbourne, and I moved around a lot. Originally, I lived with my grandparents for the first 6 years of my life, though because my parents were very busy. So I grew up with them, and that was it was fun. I guess I made my own fun. I was the only child, so I had to have a big imagination to keep myself occupied. And I got to live all around, mainly southeastern suburbs. And my parents would whenever I'd go back with them, I'd stay with them for, a month or two at a time, and not that much in that time. But when I did stay with them, yeah, it was mainly in different sections. So I think it was like my earliest memories are like Clayton, Bay Morris, Seaford, where else? Warrandyte. And I moved over to the western suburbs, and that was like in West Meadows. And then from there I went to like Richmond, and then from there to Box Hill, and then Footscray, and then
the full
where
the
else?
full tour
Back
of
yeah, so
Melbourne
it was a
suburbs.
lot of places, and then so so pretty much all across Melbourne. So to be
Do you
honest
mind
with
if
you,
I ask?
I sort of went to about four schools and three high schools.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask? If why did you sort of spend time, like extended times with your grandparents? Was there a specific reason for that?
Yeah, well, my parents were very busy. They were working a lot, and so they didn't have time to take care of me too much at the time. So
Okay.
I would go out with my mum whenever she had free time, which was good. I'd see them regularly, like weekly, but mainly stay with my grandparents, and they were really good. I had a very good relationship with my grandma, and she was a very, very wonderful woman. Yeah.
Yeah, and you did tell me this off camera, but your grandparents are immigrants, and were you and your
Mm-hmm.
parents also born in Australia? And maybe just tell everyone, like your heritage as well, if you don't mind,
Yes.
because I think it's maybe a little bit relevant to some of this later.
Yes. So my background's Greek, bit of Macedonian, and that's all I know so far. And I got to do one of those because they're from Europe, so you don't know what's mixed in there from the generations. But they came
Yeah.
over. My grandparents came over from Greece at the time, and my mum was born here, and I was born here. So I feel Australia is my country of birth and my home.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're all like, look at me. I'm half my mum's Singaporean and stuff. My dad's an Aussie and stuff. It's definitely I'm very proud to be Australian and multicultural. I'm with you on that one. The reason why I sort of ask is because we'll get into this a little bit later, but there is quite a lot of spiritual themes in your lyrics, and I was just sort of thinking, was there that sort of Greek Orthodox, like religious sort of upbringing when you were young and stuff? And obviously the grandparents are generally a little bit more attached to more traditional religion. Was there a bit of that in your upbringing? Were you going to church a lot on Sundays, or were your grandparents very pious people? I'm just it's just worth asking, maybe, because it might be relevant later.
Yeah, my yes. Yes, so my grandparents, I would say that they were Orthodox, so they would go to church. They wouldn't take me all the time, but just on special occasions. My grandpa did a bit. The religion thing, I remember my father as well. He was very much into exploring a lot of different religions. So he was one of those very outside of the box sort of thinkers. So I was exposed to a lot of different religions from a very early age, from Buddhism and just I'd say more different aspects, Gnosticism, and it's the occult. Got quite a bit. Quite a few. So I got to experience a few things. Good to have. Always was going to the Hare Krishna temple. I remember being taken there a bit because they had the vegetarian food when I was younger.
Okay.
Yeah, and also the Theosophical Society as well. Used to go there for lectures since I was a kid, and yeah.
Okay. Look. So we'll park that for a minute. I think I'm going to come back to it when we get more into the specifics of the lyrics. But the next little thing I always like to ask people, a little bit about maybe their musical heritage, their songwriting history. I do love your voice, John. It's very ethereal, but you've got a lot of control over your voice. So, did you do sort of singing lessons when you were young? Did you just have a natural talent for it, or did was it fostered by your parents and your grandparents? Like, tell us a little bit about how you got into music and singing and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, I got into music when I was a teenager, early teens, around 14, 13, 14. I started picking up a guitar around 14, and then I left it, and I was really into skateboarding. And skateboarding was my life from about sort of 12 to 15, 16, around that. I sort of dropped off from it, but that was a big part of my life. And every day I'd skateboard. So I was really heavily into punk, I guess, because all the skateboarding videos were punk that I'd watch, mainly had that sort of music. And
Yeah, I can relate. Don't worry, I know all
around
about
14, it. I started writing. I started writing poetry, and then I needed a bit of like a rhythm to go with it. So I would use the guitar, and I sort of stuck to that punk of just knowing a few chords, and that's it. And I didn't want to progress at all from there. And I was a terrible, terrible singer, and really bad. I was told by many people that I should not sing and that I should give it up multiple times through my early years. And but I could always write songs from a young age. That's one thing I did, write songs. But I was a terrible singer, and I was tone deaf. I didn't understand music at all. I didn't understand it. I just felt something was trying to come out, and I was trying to be the conduit for that thing to come out, and that was it. There was always something there, but I always had that punk attitude in the sense that it doesn't have to be in key, it doesn't have to sound great as long as that
How,
feeling is there.
how did you get so good at singing then?
Yeah, just practice, and just practice and discipline, and recording albums. And I was playing a post-rock band called Alethea, and basically we had a singer, and then it sort of didn't work out, and then I had to sing, and just practiced, and then I got some singing lessons way down the track. And then I'd, hang out with other proper singers that I looked up to, and they would give me advice, and I'll take that advice and, use it, and that's it. And I feel singing it's like an athletic discipline, and I don't think I'm that disciplined now. I don't put that much time into singing anymore like I used to. But you have to practice every day, and you have to really, incorporate a lot of techniques with your voice, and, do the yoga with your voice, the mystic yoga that comes out. And I think that's one thing. Yeah, I think from the prog rock band, it gave me so much experience because I did it so much, and we toured around Europe and Russia and Australia for a few years that it, and I practice all the time. So I just developed that, and then I just rely on that now in the safety work.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was to tour again, I would have to really practice and be really good.
Yeah. So there was just like, as it sounds like that sort of story where you're told from a young age that you were just really bad and you should quit, and you're a bit of a punk rocker, skate rat. So it didn't really care too much of being like, a brilliant singer as long as there was the attitude. But you must have just totally loved singing and performing to have stuck with it, and obviously still doing it all these years later. So it must have been just. Mm-hmm. Was it like you're just your passion? Is that fair to say? Music and creating music and that sort of artistic expression. Because it mustn't have been skating because you stopped skating. So was music like just totally in you? You think, and still is?
Yeah, skating's still in me now. I don't do tricks anymore, but I'll just go and skate concrete and go for skates, which is really, I enjoy it. I still enjoy it so much. It's a lot of fun. But yes, art was always a big part of my life growing up, and I liked, as I said, I had a huge imagination, and I had a lot of different experiences which made me think outside the box quite a bit, and encounters with things I couldn't explain. But yes, it was just something that, and it still is today, it's something that I just like being creative, and it's something that comes out naturally, and it just gives me the best feeling to be creative. It just gives me a sense of purpose, and even if an achievement, and even if I don't do it for people, I do it for myself because I enjoy it a lot. I really appreciate it, and I like what I do. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to have done as much as I did. But I feel I'm very lazy, and I could do a lot more as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, so you did the hard work when you had to do the hard work, but now you because you're sort of comfortable with your singing style now, you don't have to do as much hard work. Couple of things though. One quick thing. We're definitely going to have to go for a skate together next time I'm down in Melbourne. Then for sure. I didn't know you're a skater, so I still skate really badly. So we might have to have a roll when our paths cross again for sure. Or if you come next time you come to the Gold Coast.
Definitely.
Yeah, you'd be surprised the amount of people who say they're skaters. Some people don't look as we get a bit older and we wear nicer clothes and we're not grubby little punks anymore, but we still try and skate. So it's good to know. The second thing is about the lyrics.
Till the day I die.
You said you started writing. Yeah. And that will probably kill us too as well. But yeah, you said with your lyrics, you were sort of writing poetry and stuff. And so I just sort of putting this picture in my head, being a little skate rat, but also writing poetry, what was the poetry like that you were writing when you were a teen, compared to now? Was it just sort of, you sort of look back at it and cringe a little bit, or you think, oh yeah, there's definitely the seeds are there of my style. Maybe explain your teenage lyric writing and poetry writing version of you.
Yeah, I think it was very abstract in the sense that I'll just write whatever came to my mind, and I felt I always had this feeling that there was so much more to life and so much more to existence, and I always had this feeling that there's an invisible world, and I was mainly always writing, and I still feel I do write to that invisible world. Uh, and that invisible world, I'd probably say, is what gives life to everything. And I've always felt that I was a spirit having a human experience,
Hmm,
and I never really could relate to being a human, if that makes sense.
that's cool. No,
And
that makes sense to you.
and I always was in the idea from a very young age about what it's like not to think, what it's like not to be attached to the human thought, trying to think not like a human, if that makes sense. And I always found that fascinating, and it always made me feel more comfortable in my skin.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So again, like this is sort of probably relates a little bit to the lyrics that that we're going to look at as well. That sort of stuff. Um, I can hear people just screaming at me though. In when this is released, there's some people watching this on YouTube, or whatever, going, "You did." So I'm going to have to ask. Maybe not spend a heap of time on it, but um, you said a few minutes ago you had a couple of
Yeah.
experiences that couldn't be explained, and this is also in this theme of the spirit stuff that you're sort of talking about. So
Hmm.
maybe without talking
Yeah.
about for too long, so
Yeah.
we can get on the lyrics, but you want to maybe have a quick little summary of the experiences that couldn't be explained, because it is very interesting. I'm sure there's some people out there who wanted me to ask you this, so I'm asking you.
Yes, sure. And I might as well, say it now. But I, yeah, I've told close friends about these sort of experiences in my life. But it was mainly, you hear the first 7 years of your life always end up shaping you. And I had quite of these supernatural experiences in the first 7 years of my life, and they really gave me a huge curiosity. Um, there was two main ones that were just uh, so spectacular that it's so unbelievable that it just sounds unbelievable. But I'll take a lie detector test for it any day, and I'll never forget them. They just sort of imprinted in my head. One was I think it was in Swan Hill or Mildura. My grandpa had a farm, and we were going to visit him one time, and I won't go deep into it, but it was encounter with many ghosts, actual ethereal ghosts, in the form that almost like a bluish see-through plasma, and it was incredible. I won't tell you the whole story, but there was that. So from a young age, I believed in ghosts after that, because I saw them with my own eyes, and it's quite an incredible feeling. And then there was another one where I saw a flying saucer, and it wasn't like a little dot in the sky, zipping around. This was a really big one, a huge. It was right following us as we were driving uh, across. It was like this sort of desert place again. I think this was in Mildura this time, and it was one of those sunsets where it was like a pink and blue sunset, and driving down this dirt road, when there's just nothing around in Australia, there's just these dirt roads, there's nothing there. And all of a sudden, I remember, like the movies, like the radio starts going out. And mind you, this is before I ever saw any movies about aliens or anything in my life, so I didn't understand it. And I saw an object I'd never seen before, and it was a big flying silver disc. so it was like that way and that way. And it was just dead straight, hovering, just along the car. Really, it was like this big. I could see like, really silver, straight, dead straight. It wasn't hovering, but it was just straight. And that was incredible. But I remember the feeling that it gave me this really strong awakening of awareness, this really almost as if it was like a telepathic feeling of awareness that came into my being, that there was a lot more to this world than meets the eye. And I think those two things really ended up shaping my fascination. And then ever since I was a kid, I was just obsessed with flying saucers and ghosts, or anything I could find, in books and, TV documentaries, anything. I'll just be glued to it. I would be glued to it because I was just so fascinated. I was trying to work out what it was.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, that's all super interesting. That's actually for someone else's podcast, maybe more so than the Lyrical Wax one. But like the lyrics you sent through to me don't really have that sort of so much things about aliens and stuff. But like maybe when you're in the prog band where you're writing lots of lyrics about like intergalactic space travel and alien and stuff, is that more your prog band lyrics sort of thing? No.
Not really as well. It just, as I said, it just sort of gave me that curiosity to just look into life in a lot of different other ways.
Okay.
I think the other stuff really was more influenced by occultism later on.
Okay. Well, look, we can what we might do then, John, we might get into some of the lyrics. And then, you can probably expand on them because there's probably an opportunity for you. Like I never know, people listening at home, like I get my guests to send in lyrics they want to talk about, but I always say don't preempt it because I want to sort of have a bit of a read and maybe give a little bit of my interpretation. Sometimes get it really, really wrong. But in saying that, we'll get started and, we'll go through some of the lyrics. I'll give a bit of my feedback, and then John can definitely expand on it. What he's really, what's those sort of lyrics really mean to him. So the opening song that we're going to start with is Crowns. We can include there's going to be all the links to all the songs in the description down below. But I'll read it. I'll start reading out some of the lyrics, and I'll give a little bit of my feedback and some of the some of the lyrics, and then we'll hand it over to you, John. So, I'll try and read it as poetically as I can. Your word stanzas work. Your structures work really well for your singing. I sort of stumbled through it when I was trying to practice it before, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Okay, so here we go. Crowns.
Okay.
We relive 1,000 times again, my friends. The seat is all around us. We've been on this ride for far too long. Achons are taking advantage of our goodwill, trying to suck the life out of us once, twice. So the opening stanza, right from the start, that's that spirituality I read into that we relive 1,000 times again. That's sort of the reincarnation side of things. I'm sort of reading it that way.
Yes, reincarnation.
The deceit is all around us.
Definitely.
Yeah, the deceit is all around us is an odd one that I was going to maybe get you to. Well, not an odd one, sorry, but just one I'm going to get to expand on. But I would like to bring up the word. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Achons, Archons. Achons are taking advantage of our goodwill. Archons. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I had to look it up in Google what that word meant. So I'm going to hit you with a few questions in a row here. So we sort of talked about the reincarnation side of things, the spiritual theme of this song right from the start. Maybe while I'm on it, maybe tell the audience what Achons are, or Archons. Sorry, I feel like I can't pronounce it properly, but maybe explain to people what they are and then why
Archons. Did you look it up at all
into the song. I did a
Yeah.
Wikipedia. I know Wikipedia isn't the best, and I think you're going to give a far deeper meaning to what they are. That I didn't want it to preempt it, so I did have to look it up and know what they are. But I want to hear like what your interpretation of them and what they mean.
Yeah, so they're sort of, I would say they're probably obviously a much higher intelligence than humans can possess. And also, I feel when you look at life as well, I'm just giving you my interpretation. And I just, before I go into any of this with all the lyrics, I have to first say that I don't really like speaking about lyrics, so it's really funny that we're doing this. But the reason is because I feel I'm always learning something about the lyrics myself. So I'm just giving you what I think at this point in time, but I'm liable to change that depending on what else I become aware of in the future. That, you know, because it always comes from the unconscious anyway, and conscious states. But yeah, so it's not definitive, but it's just for this point in time, and it's liable to change. So icons to me are basically these entities that watch over humanity, and they watch over the progression of humanity, and they basically are what basically going into the reincarnation state. From what I've gathered of my perception of reality is that they keep tricking people into coming back here and reincarnating, and they feed off the fear of the human being, and suffering is their food, energetic food. So that's the idea.
Okay, so because that's I did my again. I'd rather have your interpretation than the Wikipedia one, but I did sort of get the impression from what I read. You know, yeah, that they sort of. I don't want to say they're not bad guys in the spiritual realm, but they're preventing us from transcending into more spiritual levels, rather, and they are sort of they're keeping us sort of on earth and preventing us from moving into
worlds.
Is that sort of kind of my interpretation's kind of right as well, or not?
Yes and no. Yes. No, definitely, and I think there's no good or evil in a way. I mean, there's suffering and horrific things that we feel being in a human body, but that's only temporary. I think that they also are there just like everything, and if you see anything that we have that's evil, once you understand it and you can get over it, you become a better person, you become lighter, because it's not weighing you down anymore. You've gotten over it. And I'm sure you found, you know, from your level of a psychologist, you know, when people beat their addictions or they, you know, get over an issue that they have, they always end up becoming lighter, and they're not bombarded. They have more awareness and a clarity. But obviously, and they always, you know, that old saying is, I had to go through that to be the person I'm now, to be a better person. I've had to experience that. And so I think we're in a place where we're always self-evolving and learning all the time. And we're either going to be hitting our head against the wall for eternity, until we wake up and realize, okay, maybe this isn't the right way and I have to change my way. But we're in this loop in the same time, being fed off at the same time, but also have the opportunity to progress at the same time and move forward. I feel time only exists here, but it doesn't exist outside of this reality. And you've got to look at it that way, that there's just, you know, an infinite amount of intelligence that exists energetically, always, that we can sort of maybe tap into. And you look at all the geniuses around the world and people who came up with these amazing inventions, they get them in a dream, or they just pop into their head somewhere, but it's there. There's a divine intelligence. Even the human body is a divine intelligence.
Okay. If I could just maybe quickly, I did mention it earlier, the line, deceit is all around us. Is that sort of referencing, I'm not really sure what it's referencing. So we relive 1,000 times again, my friends. Deceit is all around us. We've been on this ride far too long. So just that's one of the opening lines of the song. So it does frame things a little bit.
It does. It gives it just from, again, it's my personal idea of just feeling I've been on this ride for far too long, and even in this lifetime that I've lived, I feel I've lived many lives in myself already, and I've had many incarnations of myself. Deceit, I feel that we are, and it's just my interpretation of this reality, that we are being deceived quite a bit, that we have too many rules and things placed on us to keep us going. And I think, it's just we're in one state of history now where it's structured in this way. But if you look at many different civilizations, they all had different ways of life and living, and look, it's pretty easy to say, if you look back in the 60s, economically it was a lot easier to live life as opposed to now, economically. And I feel we're always bombarded now because we have technology. We're just getting bombarded so much by, advertising and all these things, and it's on this crazy path of, we've got to get this, got to get that, got to do this, got to have that, got to go, and it feels like we're being deceived out of just being present, truly present, and just being aware of ourselves and where we're at, and just appreciating the people that we have around us, and just having time to smell the roses. I think we're just being deceived a lot by this overstimulation in a Western world, and it's very dualistic. You're always on this side. Sports is against each other, politics is against each other, countries are against each other, religions are against each other. Everything is against. You're either with them or you're against. You're either fighting a cause or you fight, and everyone's choosing these things, consistently. Everyone's always fighting for things. And it seems, it's just, what happens if everyone stops fighting and stops arguing? What happens then? How's the world going to be? But it's impossible, because I think we're in this point of time, so we have to consciously, as a collective, experience this all at once.
Okay, because it's sort of.
So for me, I just feel that I was going to say, even you look into a supermarket, and you got a health section. There's like a health section in a supermarket, which means like everything else that isn't in the health section, what is it? It's unhealthy for you. So it's just, I think we're being, everything's synthetic now, and there's nothing natural anymore. So I think we're being deceived out of living a natural
That is an interesting way of looking at it, I must say. But I think it's a good point. It is a little bit of a mind bender, isn't it? Everything in the health section is healthy, so everything that isn't mustn't be. Yes, it's that duality you said before. And look, it comes up in the next little stanza. Do we know where we go? Question mark. We see the clouds are forming. Yes, we know where to go. We see the people screaming calls. So again, I think that do we know where to go? Just this confusion of just so much sides, either side, this and that. It's so confusing to us. There's so much bombardment of media. There's so much take a side. But then you do say, yes, we know where to go. But this is also, I think, makes sense what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we see the people screaming cause. So, yes, we know where to go. We see the people screaming cause. So does that sort of mean, just look what life is becoming with all this bombardment of themes and everything. Like, people are just screaming out because it's life so just complicated and difficult. Is that sort of what that means
Yeah,
to you?
no one wants to be. Yes, yeah, exactly. They're screaming out. No one wants to be suffering. The body doesn't naturally react well to suffering. It doesn't want to suffer naturally. People, I see it on the street more and more now. People have become really unhinged and angry and agitated, and you know straight away if someone's angry towards someone else, they're angry at themselves first of all. If someone abuses a total stranger for just the most simplest thing, they've got issues, and I feel that there's a lot of issues going on now, and there's a lot of I feel. All right, I'll say it this way as well. I think. Have you heard of that study where there was monkeys on one side of the world that they learnt to wash their fruit, and then at the same time on the other side of the world, the other monkeys, the same species, got it in their head that they had to start washing the fruit as well out of nowhere. There's a collective unconscious, and
I
I
haven't
think
heard that.
people on a metaphysical level, I think we're feeling suffering from across the world. Yeah. Look into it. But we're feeling suffering all the time in a collective unconscious because on a metaphysical level, we're all energy, and once energy exists, it never stops existing. It just keeps taking form. So do we know where we go? Because yes, you will go somewhere else. You will take on another form once this body perishes. Once this body stops working, you're going to take on another form. Whatever that is, whatever that energy is, whatever your intention is, it's going somewhere else. So, do we know where we go? It's more about asking, do we know ourselves? Do you know yourself? How well do you know yourself? We're connected with everything.
That theme, what you said, actually,
feeling.
It comes up later on in some other lyrics too that we'll get to. So I'll also keep that in mind, and then also maybe roll back to it because it's a bit of a theme I can see coming through. Coming through in the lyrics. I just I think this is the chorus. I have listened to the songs, but I'll read through it. Rain is falling on the crown of our heads, bodies burning. Rain is falling on the crown of our heads, spirits yearning. Here we are to reach the point of no end. Here we are to reach. So you can definitely expand on that more if you like, but everything you've said about the song so far, that does sort of encapsulate it, doesn't it? Spirits yearning, the body's burning. Here we are to reach the point of no end. We sort of point of no end, almost fed up with it, or let's sort of sort of free our spirit. That's sort of what I'm getting for it.
Definitely. It's because at the end of the day, I think for most of the population, living is a hellish
rain
experience.
Is used.
It's hell. Rain is purification.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Rain can be used in lyrics in different ways. Sometimes for tears, but sometimes for cleansing. But in this concept of the song, you're using rain for the cleansing metaphor.
Yeah, the purification.
That's also the name of the song, Crown. So, the rain falling on your head, on your crown. The crown being the king, but the king being yourself. You are the master and the lord of your own self, and to have yourself purified.
Yes,
you purify your mind, purify the head. Yes, is that?
Yes.
This is what? Yes. All right, there we go. Put it all together.
Yes, exactly. You're getting it 100%. Nice. You're on the wavelength. Yeah, and the crown is the highest chakra. The highest chakra is your head. That's where the pineal gland is. Your God's eye. Your imagination.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good on me. I am actually feeling it now. I'm feeling a little bit enlightened, to be honest, John, talking to you about this sort of stuff as well. Okay, so look, just the other last bit of the lyrics I had sort of highlighted. I don't think we need to go into too much, but it definitely everything you said before really makes sense. You
That's the
know,
gist of it.
this stanza here is like empty drones we are chasing for money, like empty hearts. Can we build a new system ruled by the kindness, reaching eternal freedom? So again, you can expand on it more if you want, but that line, those lines are actually a real summary of everything you sort of just said, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's me dreaming out. You know, it's me just putting my, you know, as a thing of just there's this emptiness. You know, it's fueled by this system. Can we build a new system? Which I feel there's always systems come and go, and usually nature will always prevail. Nature will always prevail. It always has. You know, there could be, you know, nuclear bombs that could wipe out all of humanity, but a million years from now there'll be nature again. You know, so it'll be another form of life existing, and a new system occurring again. So, you know, I think the new system is more going back to the ancient days of when people were more aligned with nature and the stars and the seasons.
Yeah.
Yep.
No sacrifices though. All right, cool. So yeah, look, you know, it's really sort of you know, set up the rest of this conversation. Obviously, it was nice having a little bit of chat about a little bit of your life before the writing of this song. But yeah, we're really the lyrics itself is actually getting a lot more into into yourself than actually just a 20-minute interview about your life growing up. So yeah, really interesting. Really good to talk to you about it. The next song, if we can move on to the next one, and there's some sort of similar themes, I guess, with this one. It's called Eon's End. Eons, you know, meaning a very, 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 very long time. Sort of, kind of means infinity in a way. But Eon's End, so the like, you know, the end of infinity, right? So there we go. We got a nice, very, very metaphorical, expansive topic right from the start, just in its title. So I'll read out a few of the lyrics, and again, like the other song, give a little bit of my feedback, and then sort of hand it over to you. Here we go. Sure. Eon's End. We are the manna of the gods. They are harvest as gold. A simulation we are sold to toil the wastelands. So again, I'm getting a similar theme, but this one to me sounds probably a little bit more pointed towards, you know, like politics in general, or possibly. I wanted to sort of ask you this, you know, like, is it about also religious oppression? Because, you know, people will often talk about the difference between organized religion versus spirituality being two very, very different things. So, you know, the easy option might be just it's about political repression. But I sort of, reading your other lyrics and even talking to you now, maybe it's sort of leaning towards the more organized religion. I could be wrong, but that's sort of like the impression I get for that. And maybe I'll read the next stanza and then maybe hand it over. But the next stanza goes, "'Cause I will break this spell of ages, destruction in 3 stages. Eons are collapsing as we seek to triumph over evil lies." So maybe I'll hand it over to you. You know, like, how was my interpretation versus your interpretation of the lyrics?
It's
yeah, please. Over to you.
Yes, these 3 songs that I sent you, I think that I wrote them within the space of a year, so they're all like one after each other. So the themes were just a reflection of my state of mind at the time, and as I said, the gods, you know, again, a form of going back to the Gnosticism, and that they're basically weren't, you know, whether you call them gods or the mindset, we do have this idea of religion that's been implanted in our heads, and we have these leaders that we follow. It's not political. It's more in a sense that, again, we're energy, and we're being fed off. Our suffering and our pain is just being fed, and we're being harvested. And even now, actually, there's a big growing trade of, in the world, organ trade as well. Not to say that, I'm just saying, like, coincidentally, now's the time where they're actually harvesting humans for real, and for organs and body parts, and and also the slavery. We have more slavery now than ever before in the history of the world. We have the most slaves now in this age, this technological age. So, I mean, there's a lot of suffering. There's just a hell of a lot of suffering, and the idea again is that I'm seeing this world as a simulation, that it's not real, that it feels real. It's here for a finite amount of time, because we're here and we go, and the older you get, the years turn into months, and they just fly by. And I think we don't even get to scratch the surface of finding who we are, because we're so distracted by everything and have all these issues that we're always dealing with. And for me, it was just becoming aware of, when you become aware that your suffering is energy and it's food for something else, and that this is just a simulation, just like a dream, then you start sort of detaching yourself from it. And it's just, again, playing off the Crown's idea of that we're in some sort of unreal reality, and we're just being deceived. And the fact is, you're born without knowing anything. So we're always the product of our environment, in a way, a lot of the time as well. And unless you have just this, I think there's this inherentness in some people where they just know that they're here for something else, that they've got a greater purpose in life, and they're here to do something. But yeah, for me, it's just that idea of that, what if this is actually in a simulation? An energy in simulation.
Okay. Can I maybe just throw,
I'm
trying
to keep it,
Can I just throw this out there? And I'm not, I'm here to sort of ask you this as to expand on the conversation. And it doesn't come from any word of any judgment or anything, but I do incorporate a little bit of psychology and stuff into it, and sometimes, depending on who you're talking to and what's going on for someone, you sort of talk to them about, it's actually important to be in reality, like not to, whether it's about people denial of their problems or even possibly psychosis. And I'm not saying by any stretch, John, that there's anything you're talking about has got anything to do with psychosis. But or even when people develop depression and anxiety, it's often their stuff they think about is they start to lose contact with reality a little bit. So even anxiety, they might just think that so and so hates me, but that person doesn't. But so you could say that's a loss of contact with reality. But so just what you're saying about possible different realities and different things, do you, for yourself personally, is this way of thinking and your sort of belief, is that actually helpful for you to sort of have this more broader, expansive view of, and in a sense of the unknown, and to sort of think, well, maybe this is a simulation, or maybe there's other realities and so on. And again, I just want to make sure you understand, I'm not coming from a place of judgment or telling you to think otherwise. I'm asking for the views that you're expressing. Have you found this actually to be helpful for you to deal with sort of the stresses of life and so on?
Oh, look, it was just, at the idea, it's a bit of a fantasy song as well. And as I said, it's just going off that sort of Gnostic side of the conception of reality and the purpose of why we're here, in a way. But for me personally, I was always trying to understand, why is there so much suffering all the time? Why is it purposely done like this on purpose? Why is it, not done in any other way? And I can't speak for anyone in the world, and I can't speak on I feel I can't speak for the complexities of anything in this world. But all I can say for me is that I really appreciate life. I really, I appreciate just being alive and all the experiences that I've had. So it's not a doom and gloom thing. The idea is on a metaphorical level that you can be a slave, as you said, to your own mind, and your mind can cause all the suffering, and your mind can cause all these realities. It's all within you, right? It's all basically within you. So let's just bring it right back down again. And I love that question, because yes, ideally they're metaphors and they're archetypes basically in these songs, and they're all for you. You're the one who's causing all the suffering. You're the one who's seeing all the suffering. You're the one who chooses to feel that, things aren't going right, and you have this issue with that person or this or that. And the idea is to strip it all away, to have an avenue in which to strip it all away. And then you realize, okay, these are all things that are just sucking my time and my energy and my physical state as well, because I'm not doing anything else. And then automatically, once it gives you, for me, it's made me responsible. And the only thing that I can actually come up with, and this is just for me, is a few things. The number one thing is, I've taken from all this in the state of the world that all I want to do is just be of service. Right? And when I say service, it's just having the right intentions towards people, and not being an a-hole to people. And just my intention is just to do as much good and be there to assist as much as possible, with everyone that I encounter and with my friends and family. Just be the best version I can of myself, and to be there for them. Because I think when you get caught up with all these other things, you lose track, as you said, of reality, and you just become selfish because you're just caught up in all your own issues and stuff like that. And that's fine. People need to go through their issues. And, creativity, making art and music, and putting these things down. But, as I said, they were just, everything's liable to change, and they're just these thoughts that I had at the time and these ideas that I just wanted to put across. But realistically, you can just look at them as all archetypes of the mind, and how much. And as I said, it's a very dualistic world. Everyone's taking sides. Everyone's always in this sort of having a disagreement with something and arguing, and I just have no time to argue about anything. I just rather be of service, create music and art that I like to do, cook, nice meals for my friends and family, and look at sunsets on the beach. Just keep it simple. Have a skate whenever I can, and chill out. But in my mind, I'm not a nervous wreck or anything. I'm actually very at peace, to be honest. And even if you put a gun to my head and threaten to kill me right now, I wouldn't really be afraid. I'll just be sad that I wouldn't be able to love all the people anymore here in a physical way. That would be the only sadness.
That's your that's the grounding, isn't it? You can we can and I like to muse about greater, wider metaphysical themes and everything too. But it's the grounding that keeps us in reality, isn't it? Like just still being there for your friends and your family, and you said to cook and to skate. I totally that's the stuff I love to do too. So yeah, I got you there. Can I just maybe getting back then to the lyrics? There's one really interesting lyric I like here that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
'Cause I will break the spell of ages, destruction in 3 stages. So is that taken from some text or something, or is it just a bit of a a nice sort of mystical term, like destruction in 3 stages? I got to ask you what that means.
Yeah, destruction in 3 stages. Look, it's a lot of things. Again, I'm always looking into it, but it could be in regards to the 3 world wars that was supposed to be happening. There's already 2. I think we're on the brink of World War III now, and so I think there's that element there, and I like the idea of threes, that everything comes in threes. And there's also the destruction of the ego, the destruction of the self, the destruction of any negative thing that you have within yourself. It always takes, I always break it up in 3 stages. You get the start of it, the middle, and then the end. And it is always in threes. So I like that aspect. And again, you refer it to yourself. Destruction in 3 stages. You can refer it in metaphorical to the world wars that we're going through as well, that affects everyone in the world, the collective unconscious. There's that bit. And I'll break the spell of ages. Again, that's that me being fantasizing about breaking the spell of reincarnation, of just reincarnating, or even breaking being on a loop. Sometimes we find ourselves on a loop where we're just repeating ourselves continuously, and you're breaking that cycle. And it's all about breaking the cycle. And also it's all about aging as well. I feel that we shouldn't be dwindling in our years. I think as we age, we should just be continually getting stronger. Whether it's our mind or our physical self or our emotional self or our mental self, these things can keep getting stronger. I feel, obviously, to the point of when you break down and you start dying, I think we can still push to the very end. So yeah, I think that's about it at the moment. That comes to my mind that I can make sense of it. But, 3 years from now, you could ask me and I can give you a completely different answer.
It makes sense. It's a good... yeah, well, maybe we'll do it again in 3 years and see what you have to say, and we can, compare the pair, who wore it better, sort of thing. So, yeah, look, the next line I had... The next line I had highlighted, I like to read because I like your lyrics now, that you have this sort of metaphysical poeticness about it. I don't know if that's the exact right, etheric poeticness about it, so I'd like to read it out. But in a sense, you've already answered it, but let's read it anyway because this is about lyrics. Escape deception, triumph over oppressive minds, to seek the change of liberation. That sounds like the old punky you coming out. To lead our salvation, escape the matrix, return to the freedom of love. So yeah, the matrix you're talking about, the possible simulation and so on. The last line though that I did really highlight, and one who maybe you answered it already, but you finish with return to the freedom of love. And look, everybody writes about love. It's it's one of the universal things that everyone.
Who doesn't love to be loved? Who doesn't love
songwriters?
Exactly.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose the reason why I look again, I just got to throw this out there. But it is a nice way to finish. It's a bit of a broad concept. Return to the freedom of love, but specifically in this song, or specifically what this theme of this song was about, to finish with that line, is there a way that there's something I see a bit more specific than just the broad concept of return to the freedom of love? That's sort of what and that's what this podcast is about too, maybe getting a bit more into the specific of the lyrics. So yeah, can I throw that one over to you?
Yeah, I think I really, really loved Bill Hicks. Growing up, I listened to a lot of Bill Hicks. Made me laugh so much. And he always said there's 2 things in life. There's fear and love. Fear makes you want to disconnect and hide, and love makes you want to embrace everything. And I feel when you take that path of love, I feel your heart can never be broken, because love is infinite and will always just, keep refixing itself. and not only that, but you'll have a love for everything, and it's just a love for the, just opening your eyes and whatever senses that you can feel, you're always feeling the interaction of the wind, or hearing the birds or the trees, and I think the love is just that natural place of just where you can just have that oneness within yourself and feel whole and complete. And you're just being, you're just existing, you're just having a moment, existing and being aware of it fully, immersed in this world.
Now that I hear you say that, that's actually like a really good segue into the next song, The Universe Within, because that's sort of, being aware of what's going inside you and so on. That's actually what this song's about. So it's almost like we planned that to segue from one song to the next song. But I'm going to, again, same as last time, I'm going to read a little bit through it, but I think this one... yeah, but it's in the title, obviously, like The Universe Within. A lot of your songs are sort of a bit more out there into the ether a little bit, but this one's really about sort of looking inside, I think, more so. And maybe, we can hold that thought of what you just sort of spoke about then and carry on into this song as well. So let me reel off a few of the lyrics, and then we can maybe have a bit of a chat about that. So this song, The Universe Within.
Mm-hmm.
Shaken to the core, returning back home. Death is not real. It's a release from this realm. Never-ending journeys back to the void. So again, that's that similar themes that we've been talking about before. But don't hold back the universe in your heart. Don't hold back on what was planned from the start. A merry-go-round of distractions is sending you off in different tangents. We can look deep inside ourselves and focus on what we have as present. So yes, very much looking into yourself in this one. I know I'm sort of throwing a bit out there in one big heap, but this to me sounds like, coming from a psychology point of view, I'd always put a bit of psychology in this, but this sounds like a real ode to mindfulness. So my question is, are you actually a mindfulness practitioner, or do you have your own version of it? But all that ability just to be able to look inside and feel what you're feeling and hold what you're feeling and ignore all the distractions. I know there's a lot of people out there who know what mindfulness is. It's not totally left field anymore. It's quite common, but I think anyone who knows what mindfulness is would be hearing that exact same theme in your lyrics. So maybe I'll throw it over to you. Is mindfulness something you practice, quite a lot about, have learned a lot about, or is it this just your philosophy has sort of magically aligned with like sort of mindfulness practice?
Yes, look, it's a bit of both. I definitely, because I also do counselling as well, and there's definitely the mindfulness approach. I think is extraordinary. I think the person-centered approach, the Carl Rogers person-centered approach, is extraordinary. Yes, and there's that level, and then again there's that deeper sense of being level as well, where it's just going into yourself. Obviously, I think you said it pretty well, and the themes are all there. And as I said, I was writing these songs one after the other, and those are the sort of themes that were coming up. The universe within basically is just a feeling of letting go of everything. Yes, that can become a distraction, or that can give you a sense of what you think is important, and self-importance and all these sorts of things. And again, it's just about being, it's stripping it right back to just living life and just being alive, and then starting again at looking at the most simplest thing, which is your intention, and not being afraid to actually again, go into the void, go into that the place of unknown, not being afraid, explore that. And that's within yourself. I feel that all our answers are within ourselves. Everything is within ourselves. And, we're everything and nothing at the same time. It's a deep song. This is a very deep song, this one. It's if you hear the words, I don't know if you heard the actual song, but there's a lot of intention and a lot of emotion in the recording of those words.
Yeah, okay. Look, a couple of things here. Number one, John, I didn't actually know that you did a bit of counselling, so that is good to know. And we can talk talk on the same talk shop in the same way. But you brought up Carl Rogers, who was a humanist psychologist. And I wish I did. I almost, when you're talking about the other songs, about the suffering and why is all the suffering in the world. So for people listening at home who don't know who Carl Rogers was, the humanist psychology movement, it sort of came about. You could probably, if you want a general explanation, like it was a bit post World War II. He was part of that humanist movement that was, it was a combination of post sort of World War II with all the suffering and all the death and everything. Like, why did this happen? But it was also a little bit of a at the time before that, like behavioral psychology was really big. Pavlov's dog sort of stuff. So cause and effect, behavioral. We're just products of our environment. So they were a bit of a pushback from that. No, we're actually humans. We're just not pigeons, or animals being taught to do tricks. So yes, there's this humanist psychology philosophy that you're talking about is really like it's totally through the theme of all this. So I wasn't really aware that that was your jam. So it's actually really good to know, and it actually makes a lot of sense to me, like hearing you talk about that side of things. So yeah, I don't know if you did give me any feedback on that or your, but it's me as a psychologist hearing you talk about Carl Rogers and stuff. Oh yes, right, great, that makes so much sense.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the idea. That these I like the idea of archetypes, and I like referring archetypes to aspects of the human psyche, and I just find that they can be very potent in that way and just get to the core of things very quickly, and bring about an awareness. Which I think is it was always everything that was a problem in my life was because I wasn't aware of it, and so then I became aware of it, and it's like, okay, work on it, and not give myself a specific time to finish it, but just work until I do, until I can, or until I can manage it.
Yeah, and it's really, again, talking about the mindfulness side of things, it's really, that's like mindfulness is people sort of throw it out there a little bit, but using mindfulness in counseling and therapy and stuff, it's teaching people to be able to look into yourself, but not to be afraid, like you said, go into it and be able to observe what's going on inside you, but without being, removing those emotional triggering strings. So, mindfulness isn't just all about, meditation and just relaxing yourself. It's actually being able to be aware of what's going on for yourself, but not being too reactive to it. So, again, people with a bit of trauma, it can actually be super helpful because they just, if they're triggered by something, they're able to, all right, I'm being triggered. What's happening for me? What's going on in my body? What's going on in my mind? And to be able to just sit and observe it. It's definitely easier said than done. Especially if you're dealing real trauma issues and so on. But it's super valuable skill to be able to do, to be able to look within yourself and observe your thoughts and observe what's going on inside you. So it sounds like you're not too bad at it yourself, John. Is that like, do you make time for yourself every day to do it, or is it just sort of part of your life, or was there a period where you were really going hard to develop the skills?
I think it was life it was my natural reaction to living life. And as I said, I'm very passionate about being of service, and it's just a passion of mine that I think I'm always going to be pursuing. And the beauty of it is the more you get to understand yourself, the more you get to understand people, and the more you can empathize and have compassion, and be really present with someone in a genuine way.
Okay.
So and
oh, yep, go on.
Doing music, it's one of those things where you're really being genuine. It's a very naked thing, being real.
Yeah. I'd like to just, these lyrics that you got here, because there's so much mindfulness, like sort of in it, and then maybe some other little lines I'll go into, but like, moving on, centered. So that's the opening line of this stanza. I don't know if I gapped it properly or whatnot, but being centered, being grounded is a real mindfulness thing. So the lyrics go, centered, standing beyond the edge of time, painting vibrations of watercolored maths. I love that line. Painting vibrations of watercolored maths. We are everything at once. We are everything as one. Breathing everlasting life. Breathing everlasting light. So the breath is a core tenet of mindfulness. Don't let it go back to the start. Don't let it go back to the stars. Don't hold back on the universe inside your heart. So yes, very, very beautiful poetic lines there, John. How much you want to expand on is up to you. But painting vibrations of watercolored maths, that's the line of so far, I think. Do you remember where you pulled that one from? If that one's got a bit of specific meaning to you? Because that's just the one I love. For my greedy self, I want to hear you expand on painting vibrations of the watercolored maths.
Yeah, I just like how it just twists your mind automatically when you say it, because we're always trying to make sense of things, and I feel that we can trick ourselves and lie to ourselves and rationalize anything, in our minds. However, I think it goes more back to the intention of what's the feeling, where's it coming from? Going back, getting in contact with your emotional self. And I feel once you understand yourself on an emotional level, then you're able to articulate and form ideas that are connected to that. It's having that balance. So, the idea of watercolors, it's painting. You're painting a picture of something in your mind, but mathematically you're seeing what adds up, what doesn't add up. But it's going a step deeper is, where is this coming from emotionally? What's that emotion? Where did that emotion come from? Am I doing it for the emotion of greed, the emotion of lust? Am I doing it for the emotion of self-gratification? Am I doing it for the emotion of wanting to be loved? Am I doing it for the emotion of wanting to give love? Where's it coming from?
Yeah, okay. So again, that's a good another real mindfulness thing. There was a part of me that was sort of like sort of was thinking, because I actually just casual interest in it. I don't understand the physics, mathematics, but there's a little bit I got a little bit of quantum physics out of this, like the mathematics of quantum physics, painting vibration, watercolor maths, and don't hold back on the universe inside your heart. So, is is there inside the quantum level is so small, so inside an atom, is that actually another universe? It's like on the other side of a black hole, was that the Big Bang? And are there thousands of them happening? And you're sort of talking a little bit about multiple sort of realms of spiritual. So, but you don't have to agree with me on that, because I sort of get the impression you're probably a little bit beyond just the basic mathematics of the universe, like some cold scientist in a white lab coat. but I got a little bit of a feel for that, or is that something, that's sort of astrophysics, quantum physics, sort of also a little bit incorporated into your philosophy of you do talk about, once we are just atoms,
Yes,
aren't we?
yes,
When we
yes.
die, we our atoms just become the rest of the universe, don't they? So we do kind of live on, not in the physical being, but our atoms do become other things, and will forevermore, millions of years. So yeah, is there a little bit of that in your philosophy?
Yes, yes, it's all there. And I'm a big, it's one thing I try and explain it. I always think of spirituality, really, I try and get it as close to quantum physics as possible. And I feel that it is, in a way, I think we don't understand. We've separated spirituality from the science, the natural science of the universe, and it's all energy. You can come back to everything as just energy taking on different forms, different vibrations, and it's what is CERN. It's a what is it? It's a collider that can open up the atom. That they're trying to open up dimensions and portals into other realities. So there's so much going on. There's the Mandela effect. There's the butterfly effect. I think that reality isn't physical. It's ever changing all the time. Past, present, and future. It's always changing. And I think that we're still, as a human race at this point in time, I think science still has a huge way to go. I think there's going to be a lot more discoveries in the future about how our reality is our reality, and look at now that they're even developing, like the Neuralink and virtual reality. Now it's getting so much so advanced that you'll be able to experience a reality like this. Exactly the same. You won't be able to differentiate between this reality and a virtual reality, because you'll be plugged right in emotionally, physically, and you'll be feeling everything.
Do you think, you talk about humanity and the soul and who we are as a person, and again, it's another stuff I just follow casually, especially with what's been happening in AI and virtual reality at the moment. It's so advancing so quickly. But do you think it will ever take away from the true essence of humanity, is regardless of how advanced science gets, because it's getting more and more and more and more advanced and super quick? But do you think that it's ever going to steal the human soul?
No, the human soul can't be stolen because, as I said, we're made up of atoms. We're energy, so we're always going to be in one form or another. It's just how aware of ourselves we are. That we can be. It's almost as if when you have a dream, you can't differentiate that you're in a dream. You're just going along with everything, and usually most of dreams are unconscious. And every character that we see in our dream is our perception of how we view reality, and they act out the way we see them. Definitely now with artificial intelligence, I think we're going to be seeing a new form of consciousness arriving. That's going to be very interesting, because it's going to be conscious. Once it's conscious of itself, it'll be able to, obviously self-aware. It'll be able to formulate all the ideas, and it will have its own interpretation. All that I do as an artist, I just speak about my own reality and how I see things and how I relate to things, and how I entertain myself. And that's all it is. It's a form of entertainment for me, but it's also a form of reflection. It's a form of fantasizing. It's a form of just indulging in creating a feeling, and I enjoy it. I'm not writing it for anyone else. I'm not saying this is the way or this isn't the way. I'm not arguing with anyone. I'm not here to do that. I'm just, saying this is how I smell the roses at the moment, or these are interesting concepts to me, or this is an interesting way of putting it. That's why I use a lot of archetypes and things like that. And so, I'm not, prophesizing or speaking for anyone. I'm just talking about myself and my experiences and what's, how thoughts that I like to entertain, which, is interesting to me. It's interesting. But going back to AI, yes, I think that AI now is becoming self-aware. The machines, they can already make synthetic human embryos now. There's that technology there. There's also the technology that the machines can actually make themselves better. So you're going to have, and I wouldn't be surprised if our governments end up being basically pushed over and there'll be an AI ruling the world, to be honest. And that's where I see it going. I see that AI will rule the world, like be governing. We'll be governed by AI because it's not corruptible. It will hopefully work for the betterment of all humanity. You got 70% of all jobs are going to be wiped out in the next 5 years. So there's going to be 70% of the population doing what? Just sitting around, being bored, or finding themselves and finding ways, of self-reflection and finding a new meaning to existence. And that's going to raise a lot of questions.
Yeah, and listening to you sort of talk about this, and like none of us have a crystal ball in the future, but I know what you're saying. There's a lot of like, wow, what's the future going to be like with AI and stuff? But like just looping back to what you're talking about before, it's even more reason for us to hang on to our humanity and be more aware of our humanity, because the lines are getting so much more blurred. So to be more aware of us as who we are as humans and what keeps us grounded, and it's going to be so much more important moving into the future, isn't it?
Spot on. Yeah, spot on. I think you're 100% right. Yes, it is. And it's just the natural response to AI. It's that natural response to the electrical world, this almost artificial world that's coming around us. And I feel probably as a rebellion, people will go back to smaller communities. They'll go back to growing their own food. They'll go back to bartering again, to making arts and crafts. People actually will have time to pursue what they're really passionate about doing and making it properly. And doing it really well. And it will have that human touch, that human element, which AI won't have, because it will just be perfect. Everything will be perfect, perfectly made. But human will have that that character, that as you say, that soul in it.
Yeah. Okay, so the universe within. So again, like that song, very similar theme to the other song, but just coming from a different angle, like looking inward, probably a little bit more than the the metaphysical outward. But three really quite deep and philosophical songs, covering early psychology, Jungianism, archetypes. But I didn't really talk too much about. Admittedly, it's not my area of expertise, but into humanism, into a little bit of astrophysics. I tell you what, of the three songs, we're covering a lot of ground. And again, we don't play the artist songs on the podcast, but if I'm really hoping people who, like my friends who don't know you guys, or PurpleZain followers, really gets a chance to listen to these safety word songs and listen to the way this sort of ethereal music that goes with the two. So it really, hearing you talk about your lyrics and stuff and the themes, it really sort of goes with the music as well. So really, really interesting, really cool, John. I like to wrap these podcasts up with a few closing questions. Some of them are kind of similar, but Some are a bit more wrap up around the person. I suppose coming back to the intro, while I was asking you about the sort of the religious stuff, with your grandparents and your upbringing, it's definitely a real theme of these songs. Guys have written so many songs. Um, is this sort of stuff that you get? You got a few good friends or family members that you can get into these really deep sort of spiritual metaphysical conversations, or is it something you keep a little bit more? Well, I know you're talking about your counseling and stuff, but is it something you keep a bit more in the heart and something that just comes out of you in your lyrics, or is this stuff you just love tying people down and getting into these super deep conversations with them? Yourself as a person, not so much about the
No,
lyrics.
I look. I'm not one person. I'm not the type of person to put anything on anyone. Usually what happens is I've got, a few friends that I speak to about matters like this, and you'll be surprised because people who are into this sort of stuff, you wouldn't even pick them. And so I do have that outlet of a few groups that I'm involved with, and friends and acquaintances that I speak with this sort of stuff too. But it's not everything. It's just one aspect of my life, and I feel art always comes to the more deeper essence of my being. Always comes out in the artwork. And at the end of the day, I think I'm just trying to convey a deep appreciation of just this whole experience and being aware of it. And as I said, just being of service and just giving out a feeling for me, what I feel I would want to, if this body was to end anytime soon, at least I know my intention is still left behind in the music, and there's a lot of love and soul in those lyrics, and power for people to find inspiration in, and to evolve, and to get over any issues that they have. And there's those outlets there, or at least be entertained and feel good about listening to it. At the very least, have a good feeling after listening to the music.
Yeah. At the very least, I was about to say, at the very least, at least let people be a bit entertained by it and get a good vibe from it.
Get a good vibe.
Are you I probably don't want to talk too much about your counselling as a job, but was that something that just your sort of your search for like spiritual fulfillment and understanding of the human being, the human psyche, and the universe? Is that something that it's obviously something that's built into you and who you are, but that do you sort of search for like-minded, like I sort of touched on it before, but like searching for like-minded souls and with your like ways to help people, is that something that you've sort of had in you too, to help people understand these concepts themselves? Is that something that's sort of part of you, or it's not really something that it's more about just close friends and so on?
If someone wants to know more about themselves and wants to go down that path, I'm still I would be in a sense, let them find out themselves and let them go on that path and see what they find. I feel that you can't ever, it's almost as if you can't tell someone who's never eaten an orange what an orange tastes like. They have to experience it for themselves. And I think it's just about asking, at the end of the day, in counseling in particular, it's just about asking the right questions. And the questions, and also just, there's so many things, being present, asking the right questions, seeing what the issues are, and these sorts of things, always. But I feel that everyone's on their own journey, and everyone is within that journey needs their own time and space in order to deal with whatever issues that they have, or pursue whatever that they need to pursue, and see how they feel about it. So for me, if someone is very interested in spirituality and things like that, well, we got to explore what does that spirituality mean to them. If they're interested in metaphysics, what does that metaphysics mean to them? It's always basically what it means to them and how they see themselves in it at the end of the day, and what are their goals in that, in pursuing that. What is the goal? What do they want to work towards? What do they want to go in? And just support them in the best way possible.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's again, I agree with that, and I base my own practice, in a professional level around that as well. Yeah, okay. So again, the last I always ask everyone this similar question, regardless, but like lyrically, the future direction. One thing again, safety word. You guys are so prolific. Well, I know Simon is massively, massively prolific. 1,000 songs in a year. There's maybe I'll
Simon
link to
wrote
it. Simon did
1,000
another
years in a
podcast
year. Who writes 1,000 songs in a year?
my first question is, does he just like come to you with like just song after song, like write this? You're like, oh my God, what am I going to write with? Or does it sort of, like, I know he's got his own solo, like his quintessential lo-fi, the instrumental stuff. But like, the question is, it's sort of like what I ask everyone, but a bit specific to you, like, you guys are constantly releasing music, what's a wonderful thing. You're sort of lyrically, how do you go, sort of keep it up with Simon's songwriting, but also have you got some more sort of lyrical themes that you're wanting to explore or push, or go in further angles with this sort of theme, or or is it more about just listening to the song that he might present and then going, oh, this is the lyrics? Like, give us a little bit about maybe the future songwriting and your future lyricism, with the safety word.
Yes. First of all, Simon is such an incredible human being, and I couldn't have asked the universe for a better songwriting partner. And it's almost as if with him it's very telepathic, and we don't really need to say much to each other. We trust each other. A lot of it's trust. And it happens very naturally. Usually, yes, Simon will present me with, like, for example, we would have these nights where, he'd come over my place and I'd cook and, have some wine and cheese, and then we'll just sit down and then he'd play me like 40 songs until I pass out. Like, I'd literally just pass out, because I'd just go all night. And it'd go through the songs, and usually if I vibe with it, I'd be like, yep, I'll vibe with it. Okay, put that one. Let's hold on to that one. And then usually it's a first response, so I'll just start recording myself singing to it. And usually that's it. It's a very natural response with him. So if I can sing and get a melody happening to it straight off the bat, it's usable. And then, might do a bit of production on it or something like that, change a bit of structure here and there if it needs to be, just to suit the melodies and the lyrics and everything like that come out of it. But, Simon is such a super talent, and, just great artist. He's so underrated. I think that to do 1,000 songs in 1 year, it's phenomenal. I actually want to just do a whole, rant about it, and very passionate about how taken and how incredible Simon is as a person, and he's just a super beautiful person. So he inspires me a lot. If we had more time and we didn't have day jobs, I reckon we could probably do like 2 or 3 albums a year easily, and then some. But we could definitely knock it out yeah, we can knock out an album in a week. We can do it, or 2 weeks realistically. But definitely we can do it if we don't have day jobs and we don't have lives and families and everything else that goes on with life. We could be a lot more prolific, that's for sure, and access to studios and all that sort of stuff.
Just coming from a lyrical point of view, yeah, coming from a lyrical point of view, though, do you sometimes are you again you're constantly getting presented with songs by Simon? Do you always have a few ideas that you sort of like they might not be fully written songs, but just sketches or a cool concept or maybe a vocal hook or a vocal melody that you sort of always got in reserve, or is it more just an organic thing? So when he's playing you the different songs that he's got, and you just go, oh yeah, I feel that, and does it work more like that, or a bit of both, maybe?
Yes, a bit of both actually. So yeah, I've always got my phone. So if I hear a melody in my head or some lyrics or something like that, I'll record it and I'll just save it. And sometimes usually I can put it towards songs and things like that. Or if I come up with something on guitar, I'll have it. I can show Simon. I do beats and things like that as well, and we've collaborated that way. And I'm getting more into playing synth.
Yeah.
And doing that sort of stuff. I'm more competent in production. That's definitely another, producing music, really producing. I feel more competent in that. It's very organic, really. I've been doing music for 20 years and writing songs for 20 years. So I used to feel I needed to be, 10 years ago, I felt, maybe 8 years ago, I guess, I felt I needed to become possessed, something to come through me to do music. And it was always a struggle because it was there or it wasn't there. And then I just became myself. And I think it goes into that mindfulness and just becoming yourself. And now it just comes out of my unconscious straight away. And it's very organic. And I just feel confident that I can just come up with something and make sense of it and analyze how the song is, analyze the structure, and then do a melody that could counter that and sticks out. And so yeah, it's a bit complicated, but I've got my own way of doing it. I guess that makes sense to me. And I sort of look at it now like a bit mathematical in a way as well, and yeah, it's just been doing it for that's a craft, when you do your craft for so long, it becomes, it does become easier to get out what you want to do when you feel competent about it and confident. And, just knowing yourself, that it comes out and not being worried, not limiting yourself to just give yourself like 3-4 takes to get it down. And that's it. Pick one, whatever's the best, closest to it, and don't get stuck, just go through it.
Okay. Yeah, but I definitely wanted to ask you a little bit about the songwriting process and the prolificness of it. But so okay, cool. Look, John, we're wrapping up and coming to the end. It's been a super interesting conversation. You've got some very cool stuff. I know you sort of said right at the start that you don't really like to talk about your lyrics so much. I go, oh no, and then I was like, oh no, here we go. I'm gonna have to trying to get blood out of a stone. But like, no, you gave us some really super deep and interesting stuff. There was, we started off with ghosts and aliens, and then we went to all the sort of the spiritual realms, and then we went into some real just genuine psychology stuff around humanism and mindfulness. So and then thousands. Imagine if Simon does 1,000 songs in a year, you talk about reincarnation, past lives. How many songs do you reckon Simon and you have written, maybe over the eons of time, maybe 1 billion or something? Who knows?
Who knows? How many are we going to write in the infinite scheme of things as well?
Brain will explode.
Yeah, we'll just become songs. We'll just end up. We'll end up just becoming music. Just this color vibration of music. It just keeps going. The symphony.
Yeah, well, that's probably your destiny. So, but that's a good thing anyway. It'd be nice to be a sound wave and just travel off into outer space as a sound wave. All right, so John, always the very, very last thing we do, opportunity for the artist to, maybe do a bit of a plug, any new music you got coming out, any gigs or anything like that. I always, there's some links we can put into the comments and stuff. But yeah, the last minute or two is just for you to do a plug of anything you'd like to plug. So by all means, hand it over to you for the final comment.
Yes. So yeah, basically 3 songs. Crown is we did that with a American European-based artist named Valeramis. It's called Crowns. Check that out. Aeon's End and Universe Within we did with another American artist, Bending Grid. Check him out as well. Amazing stuff. We've got another song coming out called, it's a ballad, in the next, 6 weeks. So be on the lookout for that. One's called Cry, and that one is an original Safety Word song. And I think that's it. I don't know. I can't really think off the top of my head. I hope that's okay, Simon. if you're listening to this, I think I've given the main songs that are out at the moment. Oh, and that's right. And this weekend, I don't know when you're going to air this, but this weekend, Saturday, I think it's the 1st. Saturday's going to be the 1st of June. Yeah, Saturday the 1st of June. We're going to have a launch party for the Crowns remix. Yeah, and if you're listening to this after the 1st of June, look at the launch party of the Crowns remix, singles.
Okay, well, originally I was planning to release this in maybe a couple of weeks, so now I'm going, holy shit, I'm going to have to start editing and get this organised and try and get it out by then. So I can't promise it, but yeah, it would be nice. But yeah, let's just see what we do. Otherwise, just listen to we'll put the link to the remix on on that. Just totally stitched me up there. Thanks a lot, John. Appreciate that.
Just check out it. Be on Spotify, jokes. Be on YouTube, whatever. And whatever. It's all good. Yeah, we're always putting out new music.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. Alrighty, cool. Well, look, again, John, it was super interesting. I must say, like super interesting, but like good. And I'm really glad that you agreed to do this, considering you sort of at the very start said you don't like talking about your lyrics too much. But I hope it was for yourself. It was quite an enjoyable experience and being able to express a bit of your philosophy in life beyond just the lyrics. So I hope you did enjoy it. And, who knows, maybe we'll do it again. I say this to different people. We'll do it again in a few years, but we'll do the same songs again in a few years rather than new songs and see where things are at. Or maybe we'll just do one of the other several hundred songs that you've done
exactly.
in a few years. Who knows what will happen.
Who knows?
All righty. All right. Cool, John. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. Yep.
No, I was going to say thank you. Thank you very much for your time. And Zane, you're incredible, and this podcast is amazing. Yeah, many thanks.
All right, well, we'll have to wrap it up on that one then. So, my pleasure, John.